Greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking. I am Dale Barzi. As always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Here on Nurses Talking, we speak to nurses anywhere in the world and at any stage in their nursing journey. And today I'm very, very pleased to welcome Chizoba Nwangwu. Chizoba comes to us from Ontario, Canada. She's a registered practical nurse and working at her bachelor's in nursing. This is her second career attempt because Chizoba has a degree in nutrition and dietetics. And she says that over the years, she's gained experience across healthcare and a variety of other fields. Recently, she says she took a big step and opened her own home care agency, providing care and support for seniors and postpartum care for new moms. She says advocacy is her passion, and every day she finds it incredibly fulfilling to make a difference in people's lives. So, Chizoba, thank you very much for doing this.
Thanks, Dale.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And I was reading your bio, and what stood out to me is the very last part of it, where you say advocacy is your passion and it fulfills you to make a difference in people's lives. That's what nurses are.
For
That's
sure.
what nurses are.
Yeah.
So tell me though, you moved from Nigeria to Canada and then decided to pursue nursing. Why?
So it wasn't, I would say for the longest time back in Nigeria, when I wanted to go to the university, my mom was a nurse, right?
Uh-huh.
She was a community nurse, she was a midwife, she did a lot of nursing things, and so I
Mm.
had that knowledge, but as a little girl. So going into the university, my dad wanted me to be a nurse. But then I think my knowledge was very limited. I was thinking, oh, nursing is just hospital. You're going to have to deal with blood, all the kind of things. So I was like, no, I don't want to be a nurse. And it was a big issue with me and my dad because he's like, no, you need to be a nurse. It's a very good career. And I'm like, no. So I decided to go into nutrition and dietetics. But
Mm.
then moving into Canada, there was a lot of change. I'd given birth at that time, so there was a long break. I wasn't working on, so I wanted to go back into something. And I asked myself, what is diverse? What can I do what can I go into that, would not just restrict me? So I started reading and I found out nursing is not, it's it's like a big umbrella that opens up. So that was the main reason why I went into nursing. I went into nursing because I felt like I would have a lot of opportunities to move around. So
Mm-hmm.
that was it for me. And I was like, okay, I'm going. So imagine telling my dad I'm a nurse in Canada. He's like, I don't, you should have done this a long time ago. So yeah, that was it for me.
Poor dad, I was right.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't regret it. Nursing is an amazing career. And I
Mhm.
just tell people, I'm like, it's not just restricting. When you go into, you find out you can move around. It's not just bedside. You can go from bedside. If you get tired of that, you can go to community. You can even do IT, their health informatics now. So
Yeah,
it's like, it's a whole world of, diverse careers that you can
yes,
try.
yes.
That's
It's its
amazing.
whole it's its own ecosystem, really, really. And all of
Mhm.
those things that you mentioned, you actually can do. You do not have to give up one to do the other. You can do them all simultaneously.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So having done that, having come to nursing in a roundabout kind of way, and it is a second career, so you have work experience and all of that, and now you have actually changed cultures and all of that kind of thing. What were the challenges for you?
So, in Canada, I think the major I dealt with culture shock because we communicate to people differently here
Hmm.
than we
Hmm.
did back home. You have to be
Hmm.
very diplomatic. You have to have that understanding of their cultural differences when you're giving care. So it was a lot different from back home.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that was one challenge I had to deal with. But it's kind of understanding my bias as a nurse, understanding my bias as from the culture and beliefs I have. That also, knowing that and bringing that into play. Another thing I had was, as a black nurse coming into the community,
Hmm.
and working, there was also, the challenge of, can you do this? How you speak, all that kind of thing. So
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
those were things we had to work around. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So now you're a nurse. What kind of areas did you work?
So I did work in acute medicine, or I do. Acute medicine, specialties like respirology and nephrology. And
Mm,
then while in the nursing school, I worked in the community as well,
mm-hmm,
providing home care and all that. So yeah,
mm-hmm. Wow. So you've been and providing home care, is this what was that the springboard for you opening your own agency?
of course. So I did work looking at the home care. I had a lot of fulfillment working. Then I worked as a personal support worker. I had a lot of
Mm-hmm,
fulfillment working with these seniors because it's almost like you're not just their personal, you grow a bond with them. Right. And then coming back to the hospital and seeing people, seniors in the hospital, you're looking at what are the ways I can prevent this from happening? What are the ways I can make them more comfortable? So it also kind of it made it possible for me when I'm sending seniors home. I'm making sure they have all the things. Like if I'm admitting them, for instance, I'm asking them questions, which is usually normal, but you're
yeah,
asking them questions about what kind of care they have at home,
when they go.
right? Sometimes
Mm-hmm,
you see seniors in the 90s and they're like, oh, I don't have a PSW. And you're like, do you think it's something you might need? How are you struggling with all these things? So looking
mm-hmm,
at that, and I also see sometimes you're like, oh, there's shortage of personal support workers, there's shortage of nurses coming to the home. That's in Ontario, we do have a lot of those shortages of healthcare providers.
mm-hmm,
So looking at
mm-hmm,
that, I'm like, I can actually come into play here. I can actually come in and, bridge this gap as much as I can in my own little community. Yeah.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That was a bold step.
It
Yes.
definitely is. It definitely is. It definitely is. But it's something that I'm passionate. I like to do things I feel passionate
Mm-hmm,
about. It's something
mm-hmm,
that gives me so much joy. So I don't mind doing it. It's
mm-hmm.
it's it's a it's a big commitment, but I love it.
So that involves though, that involves and I see you talked about patient education and all of that. That involves a lot of patient education and advocacy. And so one of the
Yeah.
things I want to ask is has how did your previous career as a nutritionist and nutrition and dietetics influence the way you educate patients? Because I notice, we are now becoming, there's a bigger awareness, I think, now of how nutrition really and truly affects our health, particularly when we're talking about these non-communicable diseases. So how does that influence the way you educate?
So it's just I would say and I do this from my home and also dealing with my dad who's a senior at this
Hmm.
point. So it's like understanding that food, it's not just medical part. Most times when we come to the hospital, even when you come to the hospital, you get nutritionists, sorry, dietitians assigned to
Hmm.
you when you have like some medical issues. But it's just knowing that back when you go back to the community, you're not just relying on your medications, you're also relying on your diet. You can be, say, for instance, you have some heart issues and then you're up high cholesterol, for instance, and you're taking your cholesterol medications, and then you're not eating right. In addition to that, you need to also know that you need to change your diet. Those little things that you might not think are coming to play into role actually helps to give you holistic, good health, holistic health. So
Hmm.
just knowing having that knowledge and then telling them, oh, how about what are you eating for today? What is your diet like? How do you tweak it? And then also giving them options of, referrals to dietitians. That also, comes into play for them.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Um, and I guess the question I really wanted to ask is because you talk about supporting seniors, um, and they have been eating the way they have been eating for a long time.
Mhm.
So how difficult or how easy is it to get across to them, to get them to shift even just a little bit?
It's not always easy, being honest with you, because it's a tug.
Yeah.
It's a tug. So it's a continuous process. Sometimes when
Hmm.
I send PSWs, because when we go to homes, we assess the homes, right?
Yeah.
And ask them all these questions. Sometimes it's not even the seniors, it's the family we need to speak
Hmm.
with. So
Hmm.
most times, if we need the seniors to get this thing, we speak with your children, they're more able to like influence them. Most times
Yeah.
when we're not getting those kind of things, we speak with the children for and like, oh, this is what we're suggesting. Do you think it's a good idea? We're thinking, oh, how about he tries to tweak up this thing. So just looking for ways, things they can, that they can buy in. It doesn't
Yeah.
come in 100% of the time, to be honest. It doesn't happen 100% of the time, but that's we try to, and we still keep talking about it.
Yes, I know. I know. As a senior myself, I know how entrenched we could be in our ideas.
True, true, true.
So, what do you think though? How long actually have you been in nursing?
So I've been in nursing, it'll be 3 years now.
Okay. So it's a 3-year period. Wow. It's a 3-year period and you started a home care agency based on your experiences. Absolutely fantastic. I love it. But
Thank
in
you.
that time, um, what have you seen that you think you'd like to see change?
Um, I would say t- speaking from my heart, I would say it's the culture of nursing. Nursing is a beautiful profession. Nursing is a profession where it's beautiful. It's like mothers. They're like,
Mhm.
be it a man or a female, they're like they have a nurturing spirit and always
Yeah.
advocating. But what I would want to see change is how nurses deal with the younger ones, right? I know we have this thing of
Hmm.
nurses eating their younger ones and all that.
Yeah.
We going into the hospital, we do have lots of, very intelligent nurses, who've had gotten all this clinical experience and all this, practical skills from, working
Hmm.
at the bedside. But what I would love to see is the culture of transferring this over to the younger ones without that, without that fear. With the younger ones having feeling comfortable, getting mentored by the senior ones. I know it's a lot of there's a lot of talk about this. It's a very, touchy area, but that is what I would want to see. I want to see nurses carrying their younger ones without that feeling of, oh, she's not good, oh, she's not doing well, oh, it's a
Yeah.
lot coming into nursing. It's a lot for a new
Hmm.
nurse to feel you're dealing with, the imposter syndrome. You're dealing with, the self-esteem or feeling you can't deal with this, but
Yeah.
knowing you have somebody who you can ask questions,
Hmm.
and get responses from without biases. That would be amazing.
Yeah. And that comes up a lot as I speak to nurses. There is a nurse. Teresa Sanderson is her name, and she started this, I want to call it a movement, but
Hmm.
it's called Nurses Feed Their Young. And it's to combat exactly what you're talking about and to change that mindset and that way that we have, because this is something that I hear globally. So it's not confined to any one space, any one country. It is
True.
something that I'm not even sure why it has come about that way. And I don't think it's unique to nursing either. But Teresa is on a mission to change that mindset to nurses feed their young. And I think that is highly it deserves applause.
Yeah,
It
for
deserves
sure.
applause.
It's something that needs to be, it's something that needs to be spoken up more about. And I love
Mhm.
that, we're already talking about it, but it's something
Yeah,
we need to, shed more light to.
yeah. It is. It is. It is. So, what is your big vision for this home care agency you started? What's the name of your home care agency?
It's Zane Home Health Services. So the vision is I'm looking forward. So as the my home care agency is not just for seniors, it's also for postpartum. So
Yeah.
we're working with seniors and at the same time we're working with new moms. So whatever stage you're at, I find that the postpartum part period is the toughest period for every woman or every
Hmm.
new parent,
Hmm.
dealing with
Hmm.
new babies, dealing with sleep deprivation and all
Exhaustion.
that. Exhaustion is not talked about as much because and I'm talking this because when I had my own child, I left the hospital. I was very secured in the hospital. But then when I went home, I'm like, oh my God, what am I dealing with? It was a new world. So I want to be able to take out that stress from new parents. I want to be able to say, oh, you can sleep while I take care of your child. You can,
Uh-huh.
go get some fresh air, knowing that your kids are in very special care. with professionals. So I'm looking at a company that has a holistic care for elderly and then for the young moms as well.
Awesome, 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 awesome. I want to talk to you in maybe another couple of years because I'm going to want to know where this has gone. I can see that big vision, just exploding. But since we're here at this point, what would you say then is your greatest achievement so far?
So I would say starting first one would be finishing nursing school. Sorry.
Uh-huh.
I've always known, I mean, not knowing that I was going to go into nursing and then going into nursing, finishing it up and going back into my RN, I would say that was a big one for me because I was like, oh, maybe I'll stop at an RPN. Maybe I'll just stop there. But then that's something. And then starting this home care business, you know, not just looking because at some point I was like, oh, I'm just in Canada for a very for like 5 years. Why do I want to start a business this young? Why don't I stay? But then I'm like, I have this experience. I know how to take care of elderly. I've done that in the community. I've taken care of young babies as well. So I know this experience. I speak with lots of doulas, midwives, and ask them
Hmm.
for their input.
Hmm.
So starting this and kickstart and getting it, running is one achievement I'm proud of.
Yes, I would say so. I would say so because when I look at it, it's a short period of time. The years go by very quickly, and it required going back to school. It required adjusting to a new culture. It required so many different things, and then in addition to that, you said, "I'm just going to start a business." I love it. I love it. I love it. And this
Thank you.
what it reminds me, what reinforces for me, and I hope someone else takes it away from this is when it occurs to you, do it. Don't wait.
Sure.
Don't wait. Tomorrow is not going to be a perfect day. Today
Mm-mm.
is the perfect day. So do it. So thank you for
Yeah.
that. Thank you very much for that. What advice would you give to someone who wants to be a nurse? Because your father gave you advice and you didn't want to take it. So what
I didn't
advice
take
would you give?
I would say go into it. Like I have so many people calling me and be like, "Oh, Chizoba, I want to be a nurse." I'm always the first person to say, "Go into nursing." Nursing is an amazing field. You don't have to restrict yourself because most times when people come into nursing, they're thinking the hospital.
Yeah.
That's what they're thinking. They're thinking acute care. I have someone who's an engineer, and she was telling me about nursing. I'm like, "Do you want to really be a nurse?" And we spoke about that. I'm like, if you want to go into nursing, there's an IT, there's healthcare, there's health informatics, right? There are nurses who are business analysts, there are nurses who are case managers. So
Yeah.
I look at these broad terms and I'm like, go into it. Just make sure you have the passion and you want to be there, right?
Hmm.
And that's what will keep you going. You can
Yeah.
move from nursing. Nursing is a very flexible role. You're able to move from one role to another without and you get
Seamlessly.
all those skills. Oh my God, it's amazing.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And you articulated one of the goals of this channel because you talked about when people talk about nursing, they have this tunnel vision of you being in some kind of institution. And one of the goals of this channel is that I want to speak to so many nurses that in so many diverse areas that people actually see and nurses, because many nurses are in this profession not realizing just how vast it is and feeling stuck where they are. They have, they're not necessarily burnt out or whatever, but they have come to wherever the pinnacle of wherever they are in that area and not realizing that it's very easy to move into another area and that you
True.
haven't given up being a nurse. You are still a nurse.
True, true.
You
You're
are
not.
still a
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. So by all means. So one of the things we talk about though, one of the things I don't know if I want to call it a downside, but it's one of the things we have to watch out for, I think, as nurses, because there's so much opportunity and because there's so many diverse areas, we tend to work a lot. The opportunities there to work a lot and the opportunity to work in so many different areas, and we end up very often, sometimes, getting burnt out and leaving ourselves out of the equation.
Yeah.
So, what do you do to take care of you?
Well, there are a lot of things. There are times I just um take time off. And then, like on my vacations, I switch off everything. I'm going to the spa to probably get a massage. I'm reading a book. Sometimes I'm keeping my phone to one side because phone is one thing. So I'm keeping my phone to one side and I'm just going to the library, getting books, maybe 5 books, and I'm reading those books. So that period, I use that to just like, relax and like, I'm not thinking of anything. I'm not thinking of work. I'm not thinking of whatever things that need to be done, they will have to wait. So that's the way I kind of,
Yeah,
get
yeah.
myself back together. Yeah.
Yeah, that actually is awesome because I find that I have to have a particular mechanism, or I used to need a particular mechanism to switch off work. Um, because you stay away from the physical space and all of that, but the brain is still won't leave it alone. And so I had to have a physical mechanism, I think, to somehow push that aside.
Mm-hmm.
Because even when you're getting your nails and you're getting your toes, then your brain is like, well, what intervention can I do for this? And
Oh my God. Yeah, that happens all the time.
yeah. So Chizoba, I have one last question.
hmm
I've been collecting words, Chizoba. I've been asking people if you could tell me in one word what you think of as the most essential quality of a nurse, what would that word be?
I would say plain simple, and it comes from me too.
Uh,
Whenever I think of a nurse, I think of an advocate. Advocacy.
advocate. Hmm.
Advocacy. Just like the nurses are just the one, and I don't think we're saying this enough. I feel like we're doing a lot of background work that people don't know about. We're doing a lot of, oh, is this right for the patient? Are we giving this patient the right thing? Are we sending this patient home with the right care? Are we should we keep this patient for a little longer in the hospital instead of sending him home? Like, we're doing a lot of advocacy, even in the community. When you go to a patient's home and you're seeing things are not right, you're calling the lean, you're calling people to ask, oh, what else can we do? Those are things we don't really put the light on, but they're there, and that's just advocacy.
Yep. Advocacy. And that is huge. As you say, we don't put the light on it, and a lot of people don't even realize that that's what we're doing. And sometimes we don't even understand that we don't give the name to it. We
Yeah.
just do it because that's what we do
hmm
without even acknowledging that we're being, an advocate for the person that we're taking care of. So yes,
Yeah.
advocacy is a huge, huge one. It's a huge one. And as you said, um we need to highlight that more. We need to shine a light on that more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And
For
people need
sure.
to see us when they see nurse, they need to see advocates.
Advocates. Yeah.
Yes. Chizoba, thank you so, so much for this conversation. It has been truly enlightening. I've loved it. Any last words you want to leave us with?
Oh, thanks, Dale. Thanks for having me. I'm really happy I came here to share all this with you guys. And I would love to see more nurses. I watch your channels. I watch most of the things you upload, and I would love to see more nurses come speak up this. And hopefully, we're able to share the word. Those skills you're
Yeah.
getting from the bedside, they
Yeah.
actually have uses. They're places they can be used outside the bedside.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, yeah. They're transferable and very easily
they're transferable.
transferable. Yes.
Sure.
Thank you so much. On that note, thank you, Shizuba.
All right. Thanks, Dale.